there's that. So here we go.
She won't be able to answer any questions at the end though.
Okay, where am I
Hello everyone. So I actually took a different approach to this presentation in that I will not be focusing on disease, illness, or injury, but rather the environment and more specifically climate change and pollution and the effects that it is having on animals and that we are seeing, which I believe to be the biggest threat to animals, especially wild species today, both aquatic and land animals. I'll be going through by first explaining and introducing climate change and pollution causes, and then I will get into and further explain how exactly this affects animals. So without further ado, let's get started. So first I'd like to explain, So first, I'd like to further explain by discussing what climate change is. Hopefully, most of you, if not all of you, should have an idea of what climate change is. But for further clarification and to make sure that we are on the same page, I just provided the definition for it. So climate change is any significant change in the measures of climate lasting for an extended period of time, or in simpler terms, the major changes in temperature, precipitation, or wind patterns, among other effects that occur over several decades or longer. So, for even further clarification, climate change is not global warming. So these two have been used interchangeably, and this is not correct because global warming is just one aspect of climate change, which is the rise of global temperatures. So again, for further clarification. So next I'm going to talk about some of the contributors. So the contributors to climate change are greenhouse gases, which include nitrous oxide, methane, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and chlorofluorocarbons. So first up is nitrous oxide, and nitrous oxide is a powerful greenhouse gas produced by soil cultivation practices such as the use of commercial and organic fertilizers and fossil fuel combustion. The second we have is methane, which is a hydrocarbon gas produced from natural sources and human activities such as decomposition of waste in landfills, agriculture, ruminant digestion, manure management of livestock. And then next we have carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide has increased significantly due to human activities such as deforestation, land use changes, and lastly burning of fossil fuels. Next is water vapor, which sounds very innocent, but it's the most abundant and acts as a feedback to climate. Water vapor increases as the Earth's atmosphere warms, and so does the possibility of clouds and precipitation, thus making it the most important feedback mechanism to greenhouse effects. And then lastly, we have the chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, which are synthetic compounds used in several applications, mainly in industrial, and it's from an industrial origin, and it's released into the atmosphere and has been contributed to the destruction of the ozone layer. Next up, I have pollution. I'm going to be discussing pollution, but firstly let's discuss the different types of pollution. So we have land pollution, water pollution, air pollution, noise pollution, and lastly we have light pollution. And for the sake of what I'm going to be talking about today, I'm just going to be focusing on land and water pollution, as well as we don't really have enough time for me to thoroughly go through and discuss all of these, but I do believe that all five of these are equally of importance, but for this presentation we're just going to be focusing on land and water pollution. So land pollution, again, for further clarification, it's the destruction and contamination of the land due to direct and indirect actions of humans, and the causes of these include deforestation and soil erosion. So land becomes barren and starts to erode. We have agricultural chemicals, so harmful pesticides and insecticides that further harm the land. And then we have industrialization, so this is from poor regulation of improper disposal of chemicals, and it is one of the main contributors to pollution. We have mining, which can result in land caving because it creates a space, and that space can then collapse, which is no good as well. Sorry. And then we have landfills. So toxins seep into the soil from this is garbage and trash that can't be recycled or reused. So it goes to a landfill, and when it rains, these toxins from these materials are released into the ground, and it can further spread to other soil and land. And then lastly, we have human sewage, which untreated waste can lead to toxic gases that seep into the ground. And then next up we have water pollution. So water pollution occurs when harmful substances, often chemicals and microorganisms, contaminate a stream, river, lake, ocean, aquifer, or other body of water, degrading water quality and rendering it toxic to humans or the environment. And the causes of water pollution include sewage, waste, and trash, which is pretty self-explanatory. The stuff that gets into the oceans and water sources and pollutes the water. And then we have oil pollution, so big spills, like for example what happened in 2010 with the BP oil spill over in the Gulf of Mexico was very devastating. And this type of spills actually still is affecting that part of the Gulf of Mexico even today, 9 years later. And so we have agricultural effects, so pesticides, fertilizers, animal waste. So as you can see, this is the same as what happens with the land pollution. Agricultural affects both land and water pollution, and if we were discussing air as well, air pollution, this would also be a contributor to that as well. We have radioactive substances as well, which is the last of the different types of water pollution. So radioactive substances that leak and get into our water systems. So, okay, you have all this information right now, and you're wondering, so how is this affecting animals? So to start, climate change has caused the rise of sea levels, and the oceans are becoming warmer, and we're seeing longer and more intense droughts, which threatens wildlife and fresh water supplies. And so I'm sure many of you, like I have seen several videos of both land and aquatic animals who are either trapped in some type of pollutant, like a bag or like the soda rings, and it's very sad to watch. And most of the times too, aquatic animals end up ingesting and eating plastic because they can't tell the difference, and their food sources are being depleted. So think of this as like a domino effect, because the environment has an ecological balance, and due to climate change and pollution, we're seeing oceans die and animals losing their main food sources. And for example, very recently, and still happening, is the Amazon rainforest, which this entire habitat, this forest, has been burned purposefully to make room and land for more animal agriculture. It's very sad. And then another statistic that I've seen is that oceans will contain more plastic than fish by 2050. So obviously this is very devastating and is of huge concern, and has been the topic of discussion as of lately, because this is a very serious matter. Because not only does this affect us, but this is affecting animals as well, obviously, because they're the ones that are out here in this environment and are suffering from the consequences of our actions, essentially. So, entire habitats and ecosystems are being destroyed, killing and driving out animals from their natural environments. So, what's being done? From what I could find, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't found any actual legal actions being taken, and federal actions or any laws or policies. Right now it's just talk and, just trying to strategize how to solve this issue. One of the things that have been discussed is geoengineering, which can remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, so just like carbon capture and storage technology, afforestation and ocean fertilization, and also to reduce the amount of solar radiation reaching Earth by blocking or reflecting sunlight, so using things such as spacer desert mirrors, cloud whitening, injecting sulfur aerosols into the stratosphere, which I'm not exactly sure of the details of these, but if you're interested, you could definitely look these up to, really get an explanation on how these work. And then we also have species preservation, such as assisted migration, but this also poses a risk because then you could be introducing an invasive species to a new environment, thus having an effect on that ecosystem as well. So again, these aren't actually, things that have like legally been implemented anywhere, but it's just, strategizing what we can do. But I'd like to also discuss some things that we can do in our personal lives to kind of combat this, things that we can do throughout our life to make a difference. So first thing you can do is vote. We all have the power to vote and elect for officials who support actions being taken to protect and prevent further destruction of forests, lands, and oceans, and also support and advocate for cleaner, sustainable energy. So this is really important, sustainability, which I also wanted to kind of share with you guys to give you an idea of exactly how much of an impact we have. So on average, one person produces 2,072 pounds of garbage per year. So take everyone in America, combine that, and you get 254 million tons a year combined, and only about 35% of that is recycled. So I'd like to stress reduce, because of the 3 R's of sustainability. Reduce comes first, not reuse, not recycle, reduce, because this is key, because if you reduce any consumption, then you're preventing any further, you're preventing the cycle of pollution and, landfills and just reducing your carbon footprint overall. So reducing your consumption of both, reducing your consumption of like mono-use plastics or just things that can only be used once. And also a big thing, which some of you definitely would not like, is reducing your consumption of meat, which also shows to have a really big carbon footprint. But if you can't reuse anything, the next thing would be to go for an option that you can that can be recycled, so recyclable products as well. But this also has been a problem because most people don't know how to recycle properly. So you think you're recycling, but it just goes to a landfill or can't be recycled because it's either not recyclable or it has been contaminated somehow. So really educate yourselves on how you can reduce your carbon footprint, which I think is really important to, take these actions into our own hands instead of waiting for policies and government to intervene before it's too late. Animals, unlike us, they can't adapt and change their lifestyle and change their lifestyles to a changing environment like we can, and we are the causes of some of the devastating things that we're seeing. So I really think it's important to take things into our hands before it's too late. But these are my sources, and this further concludes my presentation. I hope that this was very informative or insightful to you guys, and I highly encourage, if you want to know more, since I can't be here to take any questions or comments, that you look at these websites or do some research, but make sure that they are reliable sources, so you're getting the best information possible. But thank you for listening, and that is all.
Let's give her a round of applause. Because if she watches this, then she'll hear the applause. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how many things are done. Like I know some states have, or cities have outlawed plastic straws, plastic bags, maybe even plastic water bottles. They're finding these plastic microparticles almost in any water supply. So no matter what you think you're drinking plastic particles, which is a little crazy. And I think one thing she didn't mention, but I know of, they're finding drugs in water supplies and rivers. There's so many people taking drugs, I'm talking about legitimate drugs, that then it's passed in the urine or feces, and a lot of that stuff goes to, a waste center, but sometimes it doesn't get deactivated, and you can find drug residues in rivers and lakes. Comment?
If I may contribute to that, so particularly with drug residues, one of the biggest issues was needle dumping for opioids, but larger than that was of amphetamines, because amphetamines, when they're processed by the body, they come out. It's like you'll take in meth, you'll also excrete meth. It's
Okay.
the same thing when it comes
Yeah.
out.
And then so you're contaminating everything. The needle controversy, I always am interested in these cities where some don't want a needle exchange and some do, and it's like, give these people a clean needle, because they're spreading disease from one person to another. I don't know, but they debate about, well, maybe it's gonna promote drug use. No, my gosh, give them clean needles, you know what I mean?
The biggest issue with that, why most cities are opposed to it, is because it's been shown to lower property value.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I believe that, yeah, it's amazing. And think of the Earth as a spaceship flying through space, that's how I do it. Why can't we get along and keep our spaceship clean? Because look how small we are compared to the universe. And we're just flying through space, but we shoot other people, we cause wars, we contaminate, we do crazy things. Next Wednesday, that assignment's due too, right? Virology, and I can't remember the other topic. But next Wednesday, see you guys. Appreciate all the comments.